Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Johnny Vlogs. I hope you've had a good start to your week, and this is our special Q&A edition where I'm taking several of your questions and answering them for you. And we're going to start this off with one of my favorite commenters, Veggie Gamer, who, by the way, if you're into Let's Play videos, you should really check out his YouTube channel. He does a lot of really funny stuff in Let's Play videos over there. Veggie Gamer asks, I think I suggested it as a Johnny Vlog episode before, but I noticed you have a lot of Michael Jackson stuff around your office. It isn't so much a question, but really just interested in your history, no pun intended, with being a fan of his. When you first got into his music, if you lost interest in his later stuff, thoughts about his death, that sort of thing. And this question was seconded by Casey Jane, saying she's interested in your MJ stuff as well. And Joanne, I believe it's Saburin, great question for the Q&A. I too remember seeing the glove in the first video I watched, and it always intrigued me. So I was, of course, a child of the 80s, and I was around in that crazy period of time where kids wanted to wear red leather jackets with zippers all over it. In particular, there were two things that really, actually I guess three things that really grabbed me about Michael Jackson, and they were all kind of related to film in some way. Of course, the Thriller video, which back in the 80s you could actually buy a VHS tape of, it was the Thriller video, and then it was followed by a making of featurette, which I think I probably watched the making of featurette just as much as I watched the Thriller video. It was a very cool backstage peek. Of course, John Landis directed that video, and I was just in love with all the makeup effects and how they did all that. There was always something to the art that Michael produced that felt kind of Disney to me in its essence, just always very, almost like he kept in mind that children might be watching his stuff and that he wanted to give them a good message, and that really came through in a lot of his material. The second big thing was, of course, Captain EO, which I think even to this day is it's a big part of my life. I mean, taking that kind of Michael Jackson, pristine Disney-type storytelling into an actual Disney park, collaborating with great minds that they did on that film, George Lucas, and there's another big director, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But I just loved Captain EO. As a matter of fact, one of the items that I'm usually cropping them out of the video, so I don't think you're seeing them as much nowadays, but right above my monitor here on the right, I have the little orange fuzzy flying guy from Captain EO as part of my little Michael Jackson collection. And then the third thing was, of course, Moonwalker, which was a bit more kind of adult, and I was getting a little bit older, so it kind of grew. It's almost like his art kind of grew with me. You know, there was a little bit of violence in there, some gunshots, and, you know, giant transforming robots, which of course would grab a geek's attention. So I really loved that stuff. Loved the Bad album, even though I was starting to get at the age there where I didn't want to admit it. Also because it was something that my parents were listening to, and my aunts and uncles, and I was just like, they can't be liking the same stuff as me, but I loved it. And then after that, I think the last song that really hooked me was Black or White, and I did feel that I started distancing myself from his material a bit, and that was before the allegations came out. I think there was just this thing, this kind of belief that, you know, when you're a kid, it's okay to love Michael Jackson, and then as I got older, you know, you start looking for different things. You want to be more of a rebel as you get into your teen years, and his material didn't quite suit that for me. That's when I really started getting into more like, you know, I started listening to Motley Crue and those, you know, big hair bands of the late 80s. And then, of course, into the 90s and all the music videos that popped up around that. So, but his death, you know, it's funny. I recall the day he died, actually. I'll see if I could bring up some pictures for you of it right now. I was working at TV Guide, and my office actually overlooked Hollywood Boulevard. And from there, I saw literally thousands and thousands of people going out to mourn his death. And I would walk by his star, you know, just as I was going to lunch every day. I was very familiar with where it was, and of course there was one Michael Jackson impersonator in particular that I fondly recall that would always be somewhere around his star. But just seeing the thousands of people in line just to get a moment to go to his star and leave something there was really, really touching. And in terms of the allegations and stuff, I still don't know what quite to believe. I had this little light Twitter friendship for a while with Corey Feldman, and it was weird because he would never like tweet me back directly. He would just like and retweet things that I was going for. And I saw some interviews with him, and he insists that he was not abused by Michael, that there was someone else, that there was some type of manager or something around that scene that was conducting this type of abuse. And I've heard of that before, that type of abuse is not necessarily the artists, but more the people that might be managing them or their business. So I still to this day don't know what to believe in terms of that. Like I said, I'd already kind of pulled away from him by the time that all that came out. And I think the most fortunate thing that happened was after he died, we were kind of able to let all of that go and go back to appreciating his art and kind of separating his art from who he was. I mean, his music sales popped. I went and basically rebought all that old music I listened to. And of course, we got Captain EO to return to Disneyland, which is one of the few times I've gotten that emotional. I literally, when I saw it again, I was crying. And I don't know if I was crying because of him dying or because it was a return to such a strong part of my youth that I never thought would come back again. I mean, through all that controversy, I thought that his material was done. We would never see Captain EO again unless, you watch it on YouTube or something. That's just not the same. So to see it come back at Disneyland was really, really special. I've got a t-shirt from there. But then there was this other great twist in that Cirque du Soleil started a show. I'm actually looking at the poster for it right now, which is also to the left of my monitor, called Michael Jackson 1. And I worked for Cirque du Soleil for about 3 years, and they inspired me in some very major ways. And for me to go see that show and to see how they were appreciating his memory and bringing all of his art back to life really, really touched me. So a lot of what you see around this is actually stuff that I bought from that show. They sell the Michael Jackson glove there. It actually lights up if you click a little button on it. It's got all these different multicolored lights in each of the fingers. It's really, really cool. The little pop vinyl figures of Michael Jackson in a Smooth Criminal outfit and that red leather jacket that I was telling you about earlier. They sell those in the store there. I've got a water bottle that is from the Michael Jackson Immortal Tour, which was kind of Cirque du Soleil's first pass at doing a Michael Jackson show. And of course my ticket stubs from seeing Michael Jackson 1. I also do have a pass for his This Is It film, and that was just a limited thing. I think if you saw it the first day it came out, you got a laminated backstage pass for This Is It. And I thought that film was excellent also, but in a much different way. So yeah, and it was weird because this Cirque du Soleil angle, I was coming off the best job of my life, hands down, easily, without thinking about it for more than a second. I loved working with Cirque du Soleil. So there was also that thing in me, and seeing Cirque du Soleil kind of fuse with an early childhood love of mine was just epic. Something that I'm so happy that I didn't miss for some stupid reason. And as a matter of fact, if you get a chance to go to Las Vegas and see the Michael Jackson 1 show, I highly, highly recommend it. A lot of my old friends that I worked with wound up working on that show, so I love going there and bumping into familiar faces. And, the Cirque du Soleil thing was its own inspiration. If you've visited Lord Nart's at all, you'll see that I still have pictures there of my time working with them. I even created a web series called Showstopper that is based on my time of working with Cirque du Soleil about this show that knows it's closing and how they need to keep their spirits up and keep going on with the remaining performances. So, yeah, it really, really touched me, and actually I'll talk about it a bit later in another question. So, thank you guys. God, that was almost a vlog in itself. And that's the end. No, we have more questions to get to, so this one might run a little long, but I definitely wanted to go into that because MJ definitely did touch me seriously in a very serious way that still inspires me, and I really appreciate it. From Carolyn Newman. Okay, so here's my question for you, Johnny. Have you ever saved someone's life? That's a really good question. I think all of you should think about that for a second. I really had to rack my brain on that. I can't think of a time I literally was the hand to reach out and grab someone from the cliff or something like that. But something I did do that I appreciate was I helped start a run, walk, run club. My wife actually was the program director, and I was the assistant program director. But I would frequently work with the people that had the biggest challenges there. People that had a lot of extra weight on them, people that had never run, since basically they left school. And I have so many great memories of helping them accomplish half marathons, full marathons. Those people really, really inspired me in huge, huge ways. So I don't know if I was helping them gain tools that might save their life or if they were helping me, because they still inspire me to this day when I'm in a race. If I'm starting to feel not so great, I can still bring up those memories and think of those people and think, wow, can you believe that they were able to do that? And if they can do that, then you can too. So I think that's the closest I've gotten. I did get a lot of credit at one point, Carolyn, when I was very young and we experienced our first earthquake. And I came from an immigrant family. My father's Irish, my mother's German, and I'm the firstborn in America, but then I had a younger brother and sister, and it was in October, man, it was the 80s, mid to late 80s. I want to say October 87 if I remember right. We had a really good earthquake. It was the first time we had experienced that as a family. And the first thing I did was grab my little brother and sister and get them under the table, like immediately. I don't even know where that came from. I don't know if they were teaching us about, get under the table in an earthquake at school or what. But I just remember my mom being super impressed by that. And I guess that would be the closest. It's not like the house fell down or anything like that, but obviously I was able to keep calm and do what I thought was important, and that was protect my little brother and sister. So, good question. All right, Mickey's MDN, who actually sent several questions. Living where you do, have you ever come across any Scientologists, and were you pressured to join? As a matter of fact, I saw this question, and then literally that day in the mail came this. Yes, that is an ad for Scientology and Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. I have a friend, a theater friend, that became a Scientologist. It's weird because in the Hollywood community, there's obviously a lot of big Scientologists, and they kind of push it in a way where, hey, not that you can get to meet these big stars, but you can become part of this circle of people that all help each other in that industry. And if I remember right, they even had acting classes for a while at the Scientology centers. In downtown Hollywood, they used to have a building right on the corner of Hollywood and Highland. And I remember when I would go down there and visit that you would walk by and there'd be people at the front of the building and they were constantly asking people to come in. We've got a free questionnaire. That was the big thing. Wow. I've been looking for a free questionnaire. They would give you a questionnaire that was, I think, kind of just a leader into them talking more about Scientology and trying to get you into the program. They don't have that building anymore, but they do have a couple of big buildings in downtown Hollywood with giant signs that say Scientology on them. And at one end, at the opposite end of downtown Hollywood, they actually have like a theater that puts on all these productions by L. Ron Hubbard. Apparently, this guy wrote tons and tons of material. They do all kinds of different plays at that theater. So I've never had a hard press. I think the closest I've ever come to looking into another religion was when I was in high school. I was going to school with a lot of Mormons, and they would bring missionaries by, and we would kind of spar, almost just kind of these ethical spars. But they were always very good-natured, and I always really liked the people that came by. And it was nice to give the missionaries a place to visit and talk and, give them some food and drinks and stuff like that. I mean, just knowing what Mormon missionaries do, taking a couple years out of your life to go to some other part of the country or the world is still amazing to me in my mind. But for Scientologists, never really got a hard press outside of in my mailbox and offering a free questionnaire on the street.